What's up guys, it is That Panda Gun. I'm here again with another video and we're going to be talking about Stella. It is a new infantry hero who actually has a super weapon, and I actually want to do a little tangent on this before I actually get into the hero. You can maybe jump forward like a minute or two and you'll get to my actual explanation, but let's actually run through this because I think like super weapons aren't really explained enough when considering heroes. I don't know if you guys have looked at max level, but when you click like max level, for instance, damage factors 14.7, right? Whereas without the max level, because if you guys can't tell, this also includes a super weapon. So max level includes a super weapon in this case. Without max level, she's 13.5 when she maxes out her skill, right? And her awakened skill doesn't increase her skill damage or anything. You might be wondering, what the heck does that mean? Well, basically, there's something called skill transcendence for anybody who doesn't know. So if I want to, if I level this up, right, and my hero actually has to be awakened for me to be able to transcend skills, just so you know. But if you level up even one time on like this super weapon, right, you get one chance at a skill transcendence, and then you get another chance, I think, with like the next upgrade and the next upgrade and the next upgrade, and then you can kind of awaken all these, like, you can basically awaken them within the skill transcendence as well, improving their skills overall, right? Which I don't know if you guys look at, like, for example, Bard, he can get a skill damage up normally to 14.3 thousand, right? Whereas with a skill transcendence, and I want you guys to actually listen to me, you need more hero relics to actually transcend skills. Just for those that don't know, like, I think you need like what's it called, 90 relics for the first one. I don't know if it's 90 for all of them. But yeah, it's definitely tough. But like, you see how his damage factor goes up to 15,000 in this case, and it also transcends his other skills, which you can see this. You should be able to see this when you actually unlock her. I mean, obviously you could tab in and out between these to kind of tell the difference, but I'm not really going to do all that right now. And now let's get into the actual hero. So I think that Stella is a pretty solid hero. She looks like she's going to be more so a rally hero. I will say I was a bit confused with this release of these new heroes, just because simply I was kind of expecting a meta shift in the regard of something kind of countering Chasey. I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but every time they release new heroes, they're generally aimed towards countering each other. I mean, you had that with Bard, you had that with Chasey, you had that, etc., 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 right? Even like Julia, for instance, right? It was a direct counter to, I think it was Peterson or something. But overall, I just wanted to kind of rant on about that, and this kind of confused me because it doesn't feel like Stella's exactly a counter. It is possible that she's going to have a significant impact on a hero like Chasey, and I might be wrong in my kind of evaluation about like how effective, a hero like Stella is going to be, versus Chasey, because obviously she is built for rallies. She's kind of tailored towards rallies. Like, the game's literally setting her up to be a rallier. I mean, you can even see in her skills. She has siege. She's actually has in a lot of her skills where it's like, hey, you have to be running rallies for this to be effective. And I think that this will set her up pretty well. I do think like I might end up running her with like Eddie, for instance, right? If I end up unlocking her, which I probably will. I will probably end up running her with Eddie, just because honestly the counter damage is kind of crazy on her, and it's pretty similar to Eddie. If I use Eddie, it's generally because, one, he's a good damage dealer, and he has good counter damage, making him an anti-swarm rally, which is what I really like about rallies like these. And my rallies are more so prone usually to getting swarmed in some of these situations. That being said, let's actually talk about her skills. I'm sorry it took me so long. Okay, so for her first skill, it's a rage skill, obviously. It deals damage to the enemy target, the damage factor going up to 13.5 thousand. Obviously more if you transcend the skills, but those are really hard to do. Counter damage, you get up to 22.5 counter damage. Let me kind of read through the skill more. And increases own counter damage by 22.5% for 3 seconds. If rallying, the counter damage increases to 29%. So instead of like it's not stacking. I actually like got confused myself originally. It says it increases, right? So it's not going to be 22.5, it'll be 29%. So honestly, it's still an effective skill to be used on the field. You are missing out on a little hand chunk of kind of counter damage if you're using her on the field, but this doesn't make her completely ineffective. You're just missing out on a few percent, which can suck. But honestly, I do think counter damage can be more effective on the field in a lot of cases compared to, let's say, rallies, because there is the chance that you get swarmed, or maybe you're eating counter rallies if you're that kind of person and you're like, hey, I'm so much stronger than you guys, I'm going to keep running these counter rallies, because you are going to tell that a lot of her skills are actually based off counter attacks, which makes her actually more effective in this case. And honestly, if you're running rallies, if you're an extremely tough infantry rally captain, this might actually be really effective at keeping these rallies alive and just, like, hey, focus on filling this. I'm not dropping this, right? So it might actually be a really good option for like main infantry mains to be kind of running a hero like this. Not to mention just the overall super weapon, which is something like I'm sure these guys are going to be eating up. Second skill, okay, it increases the infantry squad attack by up to 32%. Counterattacks have a 30% chance to grant 1 stack of war will to oneself, up to 2 stacks per second, so you can get up to 2 per second. This effect stacks up to 10 times, meaning that you can potentially, which it's not very likely, but you can potentially stack up to 10 in 5 seconds, right? Each stack of war will reduce the basic attack damage taken by up to 3%. And when you kind of consider this, this is kind of crazy because this doesn't have a time limit, which is actually what I was confused about when I first read this. But you're going to see this in the 4th skill with how this kind of works. These war wills, whatever, their stack doesn't have a time limit, so it doesn't like dissipate after 3 seconds or 10 seconds, however long, right? I think they keep going until you actually like completely you just finish stacking this or whatever. I guess like if you're in immediate combat, if you probably leave combat, obviously this is probably going to be just jumped, like thrown off you. But if you're consistently in combat, which you will be, during like a rally, and maybe you're getting your rally swarmed or something, right? This will definitely be more effective for you. And honestly, I can see this being a very effective kind of rally hero. And I'm actually going to jump to skill 4 because this does actually involve the stack of war wills, right? Which are going to be kind of, which is something new to the game. So I do think it's kind of necessary to kind of delve into this a bit. When having 10 or more war will stacks, it clears all the war will stacks and deals damage to the enemy target. The damage factor going up to 11.2 thousand, which is kind of crazy, meaning that this is going to keep going resetting, which this is basically an additional skill damage that you can put out. So you do not want your rally, like you do not really want to swarm rallies like this unless you're confident in the complete strength difference between not only you and the actual rally captain, but also the garrison and the enemy, because you don't want to be forcing this rally to be putting extra damage onto the garrison, because this is like an additional skill damage drop basically. When your own squad size is less than 50%, the damage increases by an additional 20%. Don't really care for this one all that much. I generally would never want to keep a rally squad over like under 50%. It is, obviously just still an addition, so I can't really complain about it. It's still good to have something like this. And in the case that you're kind of struggling and you don't want to drop the rally because it's tanking, and you also are getting benefits off of the stack of war will or whatever, sometimes you just kind of have to deal with it. So I can understand. I don't know why this would be kind of effective. I mean, obviously it's always effective. It's just not something I really care for, because generally I do not want to have a rally going under 50%, because that just means it's not going to be trading very well. Okay, now to look at the third skill. During rallies, it increases the infantry squad HP by up to 26% and the squad's counter damage by up to 24%. This is kind of this is significant, because this really pushes it to be a rally hero, or at least more so tailored towards rallies, because you're not getting any access to this third skill without sending a rally out. And these are some pretty, I wouldn't say like crazy stats, but they're still significant. Having that extra 24% counter damage and stuff, really nice. And especially if you're eating like counter rallies and stuff, which is probably going to be one of the main things like this type of rally would be kind of set up for, or not even just like set up for that, but like eating swarms or something, that'll be great. I think the one downside with a hero like this is that she's so reliant though on these counter attacks. So if you're not swarming a hero like this, or you're not taking counterattacks from a hero like this, it's not going to be as effective as you want it to be. And I think there was something similar, and let me give me a second because I'm going to click off on another screen. Okay, yeah, it was kind of similar to the Marco and Ares skill, where I was like, I don't think it's bad. I just think it's like not as effective as I'd like it to be, especially like on the field, or even if it was sent as a rally, because I would know better than to swarm this rally. I already do not like swarming infantry rallies. If I swarm a rally, it's a range rally. Sometimes I swarm rider rallies, and the only times I swarm infantry rallies is if it's like a T5 rally captain, or I just know I have a significant advantage, or if I'm just like really rushed and I'm like, I gotta drop this rally, right? I mean, even her her fourth skill that drops this additional damage factor is reliant on, counter damage, right, to stack these war wheels, which you only have a 30% chance of triggering, which is actually pretty high, to be fair, but you only have a 30% chance of triggering this. So if you're not, constantly getting attacked by other, squads or something, this isn't going to be as effective. If you are eating multiple counter rallies, this is going to start stacking up pretty fast. You do get the damage reduction from basic attacks and stuff. I do think that this is going to be a really tanky hero, really tanky kind of rally hero. Holding it up is going to be really well. And I know Z in particular, this guy, I was watching him during Archipelago Raid because we were fighting on the same map, and he sent a lot of infantry rallies, and he kind of just tanked a lot of the counter rallies and just ate them, right? I think a hero like this would actually be very effective kind of running the role he does and having such an insane infantry hero that, he's able to kind of diff these rallies already. I think this will kind of make the difference between, hey, do we even send a counter rally to this? Which, I mean, you do want to send a counter rally because you want to drop that thing as soon as possible, but you're also buffing the hero indirectly in a sense, right? And I don't know, I do like this hero in the regard of it just being really good and really tanky. I just don't know how effective it'll be at actually dealing good damage. I'm sure like the damage is actually pretty good here, just like her skill damage is pretty average, and given the actual counter damage kind of skill which stacks war wheels, this will make her more effective as long as she is taking constant hits to stack these, you know what I mean? And since she also has this reduction on basic damage, it'll also reduce the amount of damage these targets are actually dealing to her while she's stacking these war wheels, which, when you think about it, since she can stack up to 10 plus, and I say plus because if she gets like 11, right, like suddenly, right, from 9 to 11, that's why it said like 10 or more in this skill. If she gets like, if she's at 9 and instantly bumps up to 11 because you can get like up to 2 a second, it would basically reset it. But like, this gives you 3% for every single war of will she has, right? So yeah, I don't know, man. That is pretty nutty when you think about it, because that reduction in basic attack can potentially go up to 30% when you really think about it. Since it resets at 10, it's not really going to go up to 30%. It can go up to like 27% or something, but that's still very significant to reduce the basic attack damage like that. Her stats overall are really nice. I mean, like here, these are pretty nice stats to have. Counter damage really nice, meaning like rallies hitting her are not going to be having an easy time. And I think this overall just kind of sets a really good rally hero, or at least tank wise, right? And being able to kind of push off and shove off like counter rallies or make it less effective to counter rally. And I've kind of gone on a really long tangent on this, but this is kind of like crazy when you really think about it. And looking at her awakened skill, we're going to finish this. It increases the counter damage by 21%. When war will stacks are cleared, there is a 20% chance to immediately gain 2 war wills. I do think that this is actually a nice skill, because when you think about it, I don't know how quick these are going to be stacking, or how effective, or whatever the case, but if you're instantly able to get 2 of these war wills, I mean, obviously there's only a 20% trigger rate, but if you do get 2, this is instantly 6%. You're instantly going back up to 6% damage taken, a reduction on basic attack damage taken, right? And this will just help you also stack it up faster, meaning that you're able to get more kind of damage factors off, meaning skill damage kind of. So overall, I think this is a really nice one. I mean, the extra counter damage as well is really nice. Overall, I do think this is going to be like the ultimate tank rally. I think this is going to be the ultimate tanker. You are not going to want to swarm this. Even counter rallying, it's going to be tough. She even has a super weapon, which, let's talk about her super weapon real quick. Counter attacks have a up to 50%, if you max the super weapon out, chance to grant up to 8 rage. It increases the infantry squad attack by up to 21% for 3 seconds. This effect can be triggered only once per second. When you consider that she's potentially going to be taking multiple rallies, or even if she's not taking multiple rallies and she's just getting hit by one constant rally, this 20% trigger rate is honestly really generous, and being able to and this goes up to 50%, mind you. So like, she's going to be triggering this pretty regularly, and since it can only be triggered once every second, she's potentially going to be having it once every second or every 2 seconds or whatever the case, right? Recovering 8 rage, I mean, it might not sound like a lot, which, I mean, realistically, it's nothing crazy, but it does add up. And then the additional infantry squad attack on top of that, 21% squad attack, and this is going to be a pretty regularly triggered skill, I'm imagining. This is pretty nice. And you also got to imagine the fact that if you do awaken her, you know, with the Transcendence skills, this will just make her that much more effective. I mean, before Transcending, you can actually see the difference before the Transcendence on like her Awaken skill, for example. Or, yeah, her Awaken skill. This goes from 21% to 32% an increase on counter damage. I don't think this one changes to 30% trigger rate, so instead of 20%, that's pretty significant. And she gains a shield. Oh my gosh, bro, what the heck? What are they trying to pump in her? I mean, they even changed like the damage factor on this one from like 11.2 thousand to 12.8 thousand, almost 12.9 thousand. It does look like they changed some of the other like little tweaks in the skill. I'm not even going to cover all that because honestly I do not want to do all that. But overall, I do think that this is going to be a very effective tanker rally. I'm not sure how good she's going to be on the field. I'm not sure how good she's going to be in terms of total damage, because you, like I said, you got to consider the fact that this is a lot reliant on the fact that she's going to be putting out counter damage skills, right? Because she needs the counter damage, or she needs to be able to put counter attacks out to trigger a lot of these skills, which is one of her, I'd say, downsides. But we'll see. We'll really see about this. I do have kind of positive outlook on her so far. I do think that she can be very effective, and I think as a like really tanky rally, she's going to be the go-to. You know, like I already run tanky rallies. I usually run a Dut and Eddie. Now I might try Stella Eddie, or you know, depending on the situation. Whatever the case, you guys let me know what you guys think about this hero. If you guys are hyped for it, I will say the only thing I do not like about her is this freaking design. She does not look good. Okay, she does not look good to me. I do not like this whole design. Yeesh, bro. Just like I said it on Discord, I would be happier if they gave these guys onesies at this point, right? Like they could literally give like the new heroes just onesies, right? Like a Ninja Turtle onesie, or like a duck onesie, whatever the case, a freaking penguin onesie, right? I would like those more than these freaking designs. Like, I don't know why I'm hating. I just hate it, right? I'm just hating to hate. But you guys let me know what you guys think either way. Tell me how you feel about Stella, if you guys like Stella overall, if you guys are vibing with her, if you're rocking with her, and if you think that you're going to be competing for this hero. Either way, I do appreciate you guys for watching as always. I hope you guys do have a great day or night though, and I will see you guys in the next video. And that is about it. Peace out.